También nuestro compañero habló con el secretario general de la Cámara de Comercio Internacional, John W. H. Denton. Vamos a escuchar a continuación.
Queridas amigos y queridos amigos de La Razón, un placer estar con ustedes y acá nos acompaña John Denton. Él es secretario general de la Cámara Internacional de Comercio, ICC. Very pleased to have you with us. Very thankful to you for giving us some minutes.
Great to be with you, Pablo. It's La Razón. It's the voice of Bolivia.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. We're based in La Paz, and so
okay, right.
We are
in the thick of things.
Yeah,
it must be nice for you to be in the free territory of Santa Cruz.
In the current situation, yeah, indeed, for sure. How you are living the experience of being here at the Foro Regional Las Américas 2026, the regional forum, the regional summit Las Américas. How are you looking the event going on?
Well, I mean, this is my first visit ever to Bolivia, the first time in Santa Cruz. We chose Santa Cruz to host this very important gathering. It's probably the largest gathering of business people in Latin America this year. We chose it because the decision by the Bolivian people to work with a government that was determined to open and encourage further private sector activity was one that we wanted to support. And so bringing global business here to help create more opportunities, create more, I think, more contracts and relationships between business people in the region and between this region and other regions was a statement by us, because for us, doing things rather than talking about things is the key thing. So coming here to Bolivia for the first time, to Santa Cruz, in this moment when it's clear that the people of Bolivia want to see greater economic opportunity, the private sector is here to help, and the private sector is here to deliver. So far, I've been delighted. I've been meeting with Bolivians last night, today, having the opportunity to address a very positive and welcoming audience. The kind of messages we have are well received. The practical interventions we have are kind of demanded. So this is a good moment for us to work with Bolivian business. And actually, CAINCO is a very interesting and a very productive and future-looking organization. So it's great to work with them.
Yeah, they're quite dynamic. They're quite active. What's your view on how the world landscape is changing? There are so many things happening, but in the middle of that, it's the region, it's South America. What's your point of view? What's your take on the situation of the region?
Well, as you say, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world. There's a lot of change. There's, I suppose, a lot of shifts now that are becoming clear about the way in which the world is organized. It's not as it was in 1946. Immediately after the Second World War, it's quite different now. You've now got, this is where I think Latin America is very important. There's been a rebalancing, I think, of power in the world. And yes, you still have two mega powers, but the way in which the world operates now is actually less organized on a global basis and more focused on a regional. It doesn't mean that globalization is dead, which is one of those false narratives that people who are quite lazy actually push around. It's just that it looks different, and it will always continue. But some of the efficiencies we were used to have kind of gone. So we need to look at how we can make the way in which the world is ordered now, with greater importance of regional economies, as efficient as possible. And that's the job for the ICC. Ultimately, we provide the infrastructure for the global trading world. It's the contracts, It's the rules of origin, it's the certificates of origin, it's the dispute resolution, it's the digitization, the tools to support that. That's all ICC. I mean, we create all the rules and curate all the rules around access to trade finance. So that's about, we're responsible for enabling like $17.5 trillion worth of economic activity. So we need to make certain that how we order ourselves in order to support the reordering world removes some of the uncertainty and stress and disorder to make it easier and more efficient for businesses to operate in the context. But in that context, with a greater focus on regionalization, the way in which Latin America organizes itself becomes very important. And there's a lot of opportunity for greater integration on a regional basis in Latin America. One thing which is quite unique is there's such a dominance in, if you look at the way the economies are organized, of SMEs. They must make up something like 90%, I think, of the formal economy. And yet one of the unusual features is so few of those SMEs actually trade across borders. So one of our jobs in this regional focus and regional integration is to enable more of that. And that's something I'll be launching here tomorrow. There's a huge project we're running, which is called Trade Routes Americas, which will actually be unleashed to allow the Andean corridor to open up with other parts of Latin America. That's practical stuff we do to drive an economic activity in this changing world, reordering world, maybe is a better way to put it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you are in a quite privileged place to see what's going on in the whole world.
Are you talking about white Anglo-Saxon privilege?
Huh?
You're accusing me of white Anglo-Saxon privilege?
No.
I'm joking, it's okay.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
No, I know. It's the position you are in the institution, in the ICC. You have a much clearer point of view, and even many presidents, you see lots of dynamics around the world. So how you were talking about integration and regions. This is something key to understand, how the regions are reshaping each other in this new world that is emerging, that you will describe.
Well, I think you're seeing a lot more managed coordination within those areas. I mean, I think the period of time where we saw the kind of push towards open economies, that's diminished a little bit, and you're seeing governments, because of national security issues, seeking to manage a little bit. There's pros and cons with that, and we understand the need for national security. But if in the end it actually hurts your economic development, then you're not building a strong economy, and you need a strong economy to actually have a secure economy. So you've got to be very mindful of that. And that's where groups like the ICC can be very helpful, because in developing policies, it's really important that they're not simply dreamed up in La Paz by bureaucrats, that there's actually an open discussion, a partnership with business. And I think that's one of the characteristics we'd like to see more of in Latin America, a lot more partnership and engagement with business. Business is here to serve the development of the communities. And that's what we like to see. We're not asking for special treatment, but we're asking to ensure the conditions are there for business, the private sector to flourish. And we'd like to see more of that, I think, in Latin America, because there is an opportunity for much more economic growth here. One of the challenges is, unless we work together to preserve some of the institutions that support economic growth, like the trading system, then it could actually, if there are roads, it could hurt Latin America. So we need to work together to ensure that in Latin America, we're also focused on how you keep, I think, structures in place and then increase the number of, I think, opportunities for businesses to engage in the trading environment. And that's not easy, because that requires a mindset change for a lot of governments and a lot of policymakers. But it shouldn't be a hard one, because really what we're asking is that you work more closely with groups like the International Chamber of Commerce, and ultimately we're a not-for-profit, for-purpose institution that seeks to create those conditions that allow the private sector to flourish. And I think that's one of the great opportunities for Latin America at a whole. But it's a great opportunity on a competitive basis for economies within Latin America. Wouldn't it be amazing if Bolivia emerged after 20 years of being slightly kind of a bit of a sleepy hollow, as one of the most dynamic, forward-looking economies, which is built upon an appropriate level of partnership with the private sector, you could actually become one of the leaders in Latin America. Why not?
Yeah, for sure. In searching that, from your point of view, what would you think are the key things, the key challenges that the region should address to become much more competitive, much more productive?
Look, you have a fundamental issue, which is not only reserved for Latin America. It happens in other, I suppose, groupings like in Africa as well, where you actually have a challenge with the percentage of the economy which is in the informal economy. Liberating that informality into the formal economy will create a lot of value for the creation of social goods and public goods for the communities. Well, one way through that is the increasing engagement on digitization and the opportunities for digitization, because what that actually does is it helps a number of these enterprises which are in the informal economy, because they get benefit from it, they sign up onto the digital platform and they start becoming visible. There's an interest for, I think, for the economic development of Latin America in formalizing a lot more of the economy that exists now. It's not the only thing, but I think that's something that should always be part of the thinking, because ultimately you want to create more fiscal space for governments to create more social goods and public goods and support infrastructure development as well. But, if you give too many priorities, then politicians get lost. So thinking about that issue, thinking about economic development as a partnership with the private sector, sending clear signals that you're open to the private sector improving its position. These are the kind of signals that markets also want around the world in order to invest in those economies, to support the infrastructure as well.
Yeah, that's sure. In the light of that you said, there's a thing in this world that's commonly referred to as international repartment of work, of labor. Some countries that are in the center of the world system, they produce highly valued products, and Bolivia is in the situation of the periphery, where it produces mainly commodities and raw materials. We need a lot of technology exchange. How do you see these factors that for us, for Bolivians, it's a very real thing?
Yeah. Well, increasing the value of the supply chains, the production chains in Bolivia should be a key priority for the Bolivian government. And frankly, it should be a national conversation. Bolivia as a family, if you think about Bolivia as a series of families, every member of that family wants to have a better life than the family than their predecessors. And how do they build that? That's going to be having a single-minded focus on ensuring this country continues to grow, but it grows in an inclusive way. And that's important, therefore, to ensure that what is developed here is open for the private sector and for labor to actually engage with building those businesses as well. I mean, that's all about really building the nation in the future, and that should be a conversation about what kind of country do we want to be. Other countries have that. And I think, in a way, the conversation or the challenges you're seeing politically now in La Paz is a real signal about what kind of country do the people want to see. I don't think they want to see the country of the past, because they are actually trying to build a better future for their families. So working with that in mind and seeking to deliver that should be an objective, I think, for the leadership, but also encouraged by the population as well. I hope that's the conversation that can be had. Thank you so much for your time, Pablo. And
I really appreciate yours.
My pleasure.
And thank you so much. Hemos estado con John Denton, el secretario general de la ICC. Un placer haber podido conversar con very, very, very thankful to you for
My
this
pleasure.
conversation.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. Thanks a lot.
Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias. Thank you.
Bueno, ahí estaba nuestro compañero Pablo Dehesa con John W. H. Denton, secretario general de la Cámara de Comercio Internacional, en el marco del WCF Summit 2026 que tuvo como sede a Santa Cruz de la Sierra. Y como decía nuestro invitado, el señor Denton, es el evento empresarial más importante que se va a llevar a cabo en Latinoamérica, y tuvo como sede la ciudad de Santa Cruz.